Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third ASEM Forum on the Human Rights of Older Persons. My name is Sejong Park, and I will be your host for today's event. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. And it's a great honor and privilege for me to be here as the host for this meaningful event. Before we start the official ceremony, I'm going to introduce our distinguished guests. When I call their names, please welcome them with a big hand. All right, first we have Mr. Doo-Hwan Song, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea. Please welcome him with a big hand. Thank you. And Her Excellency Maria Castillo Fernandez is with us today. She's an ambassador of the Delegation of European Union to the Republic of Korea. Thank you very much for joining us. And please join me in welcoming Ms. Sang-Hee Kim, the member of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea. Please welcome her with a big hand. We also have Dr. Hae-Kyung Lee, Chairperson of the Board of Directors of the ASEM Global Aging Center. Please welcome her with a round of applause. Thank you. And we also have Dr. Beth James. She's the Director of the Republic Policy and Research Limited, New Zealand. She will give us a keynote speech. Thank you very much for joining us. And next, I'm going to introduce the moderator and the speakers of this forum. We have Professor Sojong Park from Washington University in St. Louis. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you. And Mr. Eun-Hee Kim, Chairperson of the Doo-Hwan Mire Foundation, is with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Please welcome him with a big hand. Thank you. And we also have Professor Yong-Ho Chun at Incheon National University. Please welcome him. Thank you very much. And please join me in welcoming Dr. Gaiming Ip from Habitat for Humanity, Hong Kong. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And we have Professor Jang Chung-Leong from National Economics University. Please welcome him with a big hand. Thanks. And next, I'm going to introduce the advisor of ASEM Global Aging Center. We have Ms. Jung Jin-sung. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you. And next, it's time for the expert of the ASEM Global Aging Center. Professor Yang Ran-ju is with us today. Please welcome him with a big hand. Thank you. And next, I'm going to introduce the board member of the ASEM Global Aging Center. We have Ms. Eun-Hee. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you. And please join me in welcoming Mr. Hyun-se Jo. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. And Ms. Won Mi-kyung is here. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you so much for coming. And Director Lee Seok-jun is with us today. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And we have Director Moon Eun-Hyun. Please welcome him with a round of applause. We also have Deputy Director Ms. Ga-yoon Baek. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And we also have Deputy Director Mr. Dong-woo Lee. Please welcome him with a big hand. Thank you. And we have Assistant Director Ms. Yu-kyung Park. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Assistant Director Ms. Shin Yu from the National Human Rights Commission of Korea. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you. And we have Senior Yuja Lo with a special affection. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Ms. Eun-Hee Ji, the Executive Director of the ASEM Global Aging Center. Please welcome her with a big hand. Thank you very much. a number of domestic and international speakers and moderators are joining us today. But however, we're not able to introduce each and every one of them in the interest of time. Please accept my apology. And I would love to express our sincere gratitude to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, now I'm going to invite Executive Director of ASEM Global Aging Center, Ms. Eun-Hee for the opening remarks. Please welcome her with a big hand.
네, 좋은 아침입니다.
A very good morning to you. As have been introduced, I am Eun-Hee, Executive Director of the ASEM Global Aging Center. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your participation at the third ASEM Forum on the Human Rights of Older Persons. In particular, from the first forum all the way to the third forum, we have been honored to co-host with Chairman Doo-Hwan of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea and Her Excellency Maria Castillo Fernandez, the Ambassador of the EU to Korea. Thank you very much. And despite her very busy National Assembly schedule, we do have the participation of National Assemblywoman Kim Sang-Hee, who is always working on the improvement of the human rights of older persons. The topic for this forum is aging in place, and we do have the participation of our keynote speakers. We have Director Bev James, as well as Chief Sabine Henning for your keynote presentations today. I would also like to thank our moderators, speakers, and discussants. July 11th is the World Population Day designated by the UN. On the World Population Day, we focus on the changes in the demographic structure, and it's a special day for us to take a look at the social implications of such changes. Many countries are experiencing demographic changes due to aging, so today will be a great opportunity to take a look at the reality of older persons among ASEM member states and to think about ways to enhance their human rights. ASEM Globalizing Aging Center, AGAG, was established in 2021 to select the major issues related to the human rights of older persons, and we have hosted the forum in order to think about the realities and the ways forward. In 2021, the first forum was titled Human Rights for Older Persons in Disasters and Emergencies. Given the COVID-19 situation in 2021, we believe that the older persons were exposed to severe isolation and neglect. Human rights of older persons need to be protected even in disasters and emergencies, and we were confirmed that this topic needed our attention. The second forum was titled Human Rights of Older Persons' Mental and Emotional Health. With the acceleration of the aging of our population, accelerated by COVID-19, has revealed the isolation and loneliness of older persons. And therefore, mental and emotional health was an issue that we had to look at with the private sector and government alike. The third forum hosted today is on aging in place. So aging in place is the topic for this year's forum. According to the WHO, within the next 30 years, people aged 60 or older will reach 2.1 billion, which is a twofold increase, and those aged 80 and above will increase by threefold, reaching 426 million. So the life expectancy is increasing, but the gap between the life expectancy and the health-adjusted life expectancy is growing, and the one-person household is increasing. And according to research thus far, the older people need to maintain their social belonging in a safe and comfortable environment, and they wish to live their older ages and meet their death in such an environment. But this hope has many realistic challenges. For example, in Korea, 60% of older persons wish to age in their own home and die in their own home, but 75% actually die in the hospital. So through today's third forum, we will take a look at the European and Asian situation with different financial and social support as well as cultural values to take a look at how aging in place is understood and how it is implemented through policies and through civic groups. And we also hope to share best examples to search for policy measures forward. Aging in place and death with dignity are areas where policies and discussions are needed, and we will deal with these topics through 3 different sessions. And during the special session, we will take a look at aging, human rights of older persons, and development cooperation in Asia with ESCOP, UN ESCOP. So aging is the most active in developing countries, and by 2050, 80% of those aged 60 or older will be living in low-income or middle-income countries, and therefore this discussion will be even more meaningful. AGAG will continue to host forums for the human rights of older persons, and one of the reasons is to make sure that we are able to sign the UN Convention of Rights of Older Persons. We believe that by signing the UN Convention of Rights for Older Persons, we will be able to realize the 5 principles for older persons designated by the UN: independence, participation, care, self-realization, and dignity. And we also believe that efforts on the part of individual countries are also needed. And therefore, AGAG is working on the enactment of the Framework Act on the human rights of older persons, and we are working with many stakeholders to make sure that we are able to establish the UN Convention. I do hope that we are able to come up with meaningful results for each session so that we can take a step closer to the UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons. Once again, thank you very much to all of our participants online, all of the experts and directors of AGAG, and everyone who has joined us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As she mentioned, today is a World Population Day, and including Korea in the world, the number of senior citizens is growing everywhere, every year. And that's why today's forum means a lot. And I hope we can find a way to solve the problems that we are facing right now. Thank you very much. All right, now please join me in welcoming Mr. Doo-Hwan Song, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea, for the opening remarks. Please welcome him with a big hand.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Doo-Hwan Song, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea. I would like to congratulate the opening of the 3rd ASEM Forum on the Human Rights of Older Persons, Present and Future Aging in Place. I would like to first thank Executive Director Eun-Hee of ASEM Global Aging Center, as well as the Chairperson Lee Hae-kyung, as well as all the members of the center for enabling today's forum. I would also like to thank Member of the Parliament, Kim Sang-Hee, and the former Minister of Health and Welfare, Cha Heung-bong, and Mr. Kim Yong-ik, and Your Excellency Ambassador Maria Castillo Fernandez of the Delegation of the European Union to the ROK, Director Bev James of the Public Policy and Research of New Zealand, as well as all the members of ASEM member countries and activists of civil society. Welcome and thank you. I would like to point out that all the issues that we face in our everyday lives are issues of human rights. Pandemic that threaten our lives, disasters, climate crisis, the digital transition, as well as hate speech against social minorities, and also what we will be discussing about elderly care. So all of these issues are issues of human rights. And because they are issues of human rights, we must always look closely to see whether the people who are in those situations are having their rights respected or not, whether their rights are not being ignored or downplayed. And among them, due to the global aging phenomenon, we are seeing increase in the elderly population. And the increase in the elderly population and the consequent issue of elderly care are raising a host of other elderly human rights issues as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this third ASEM Forum on the Human Rights of Older Persons is aging in place. As we would all know, staying in my own home is the desire by most elderly persons to receive the care in the place that I want as I continue with my own lifestyle and end my life in dignity is something that everyone would want for himself or herself. And to make such wish possible, then we need to make sure that we can create the kind of environment and the circumstances where the community pay attention to each other, where the neighbors take care of each other, and where even the elderly with physical challenges or dementia can still be included in the community. And we must also change our care policy. They should be redesigned for elderly's independence and focus on extending their healthy lives instead of simply seeing them as passive recipients of care. There should also be policies more focused on not only on providing institutional benefits or at-home care benefits, but also to provide support for home-based hospice, palliative care, end-of-life service, and other types of community care as well. In this context, this forum on the human rights of older persons will seek effective approaches to advocating and promoting elderly human rights, which I believe is going to be an important forum to promote international cooperation. I do hope that we will be able to muster our wisdom together at this forum so that we can find ways and create a future society where all elderly persons can stay in place and age in my own home. The National Human Rights Commission of Korea, as the chair of the Working Group on Aging in Ganri, has been leading the discussion on agenda on the elderly human rights so that all elderly persons can continue with their dignified and happy life. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as the 30th anniversary of the Vienna regime and the Paris Principles. On this very meaningful day, let us look back to the significance of these milestones, and I do hope that we will be able to reach constructive outcome today. Once again, I would like to thank all the participants at this forum, and I wish for everyone's health in this hot summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Song. As I pointed out, every single problem that we're dealing with is closely related to the human rights issues. That's why we should work together to protect human rights, and especially for older persons. And this forum should be a great opportunity. Thank you. All right, now I would like to invite Ambassador of the Delegation of European Union to the Republic of Korea, Her Excellency Maria Castillo Fernandez, for another opening remarks. Please welcome her, or a round of applause.
안녕하십니까?
마리아 카스티요 유로파 융합대사입니다.
Good morning. I am Maria Castillo Fernandez.
I'm very happy to be here as director, he say, for the third time, following this ASEM forum for human rights of older people since its beginning in Korea. Since I came, it was one of my first events. I remember when I came in posting here in Korea. Thank you again to the ASEM Asian Center for co-hosting with us this forum. And a special thanks to Executive Director Eun-Hee and Chairperson Lee-Hyuk-kun for your endless commitment and dedication in promoting and protecting human rights of older people. From forum to forum, I've seen you, continuing this commitment, trying to find actions and efforts to be able to continue this very important course. Also, Honorable Kim Sang-Hee and Chairperson Song, we have been also, you have been with tireless efforts also following and protecting human rights in the Republic of Korea, and that effort is very important. In all our countries, there are human rights issues, and we have to put them at the front of our agenda. I remember in 2021, the first time we had the ASEM Forum, we were in the unprecedented challenge of COVID-19. Our forum was more smaller. We were all wearing the mask. But what the pandemic has shown all of us is the long-standing human rights gaps, especially for protection of older persons. I think the older persons were the most, the ones who suffer the most socioeconomic consequences and a disproportionate impact in the way of life. Last year forum, as director, he mentioned, show ways to promote mental and emotional health of the older persons, because that was one of the consequences that came from COVID. But now we have to look at the broader picture, and that picture is about an aging population that is aging very quickly. And we have that in all our societies in the ASEM countries. It's not one issue of Europe, of in Korea, very important here, but in many of the countries, and I see here represented, this is a big challenge. Discussions, therefore, about human rights of older persons have become very relevant today. There has gained prominence. I've remember a lot of discussions in the last months in Korea about what to do with this rapid aging of society, which has become a big issue in case of labor, in case of caring, but also, demographics make a difference in how our societies and economies are going to develop. For the first time in history, and I think Director Lee pointed out, there are fewer children than older persons in the world. By 2050, 1 in 6 people in the world will be age 65 or over. And in the European Union, that proportion is projected to reach almost 30% of our population in 2050. And that's a new demographic reality. Therefore, we have to give more emphasis in our agenda of human rights to older persons. For us, it's a high priority. It's also written and enshrined in our Charter of Fundamental Rights at the European level. Article 25 recognizes and respects the right of older persons to live a life of dignity, independence, and to participate to social and cultural life. There are numerous challenges, and certainly we need now to think to make the next step. Speaking about aging in place, a good example of how we can take a human rights approach to population aging and that offers also a good alternative to caring facilities and family care. I remember a personal story. My father, when he was very sick with Parkinson, the only thing he asked was, "Can I stay at home?" And it was, something very, very dearly to us. So we got the commitment that he will stay at home. If we took him to a resident, that was like a punishment. He said, no, 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 no. Got very nervous. But families cannot do it alone. There needs to be, the society has to help, the government has to have in place the right policies. So perhaps, Honorable Kim, I mean, as National Assembly member, you can try and push also what is the legislation. I think we need to make in all our countries also the next place to put the policies in place for aging in place in a very dignified way. And Chairman Song, in your report of human rights as well annually that you do, I think we need to give more prominent to many of the ideas that will come for this forum, because if we don't take these steps, we can speak, but there's nothing that is going to be done. And of course, at UN level, Director Lee mentioned that very, very, very well. We were discussing here some months ago the UN Convention of Rights of Older Persons. Hope we can get that also out, and that will be very important. You will listen here to many actions that are in place in many of the countries in ASEM. I also see in Sweden here, New Zealand. Professor James will soon tell us what is they are doing. But I see also on my table Hanoi, Hong Kong. They also have a lot of measures in place. Civil society plays a big role, and I see some of the people here. So let us go from words to action. Let us make the next step, and next year when we will be all here together, we can say that Korea, EU, ASEM countries have done some of the things that are discussed there. I think we need to move to that level because it's very imperative. Societies are aging. We don't have more time. If we don't do it now, I think that we will not have in place the necessary both legislation measures, infrastructure that is needed to help us all to age in a dignified way. So thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for your warm message. As she mentioned, there are fewer children than older persons for the first time in history. It's serious, and we are realizing and the reality right now. So we have to work together now. Thank you very much. All right, now it's a great pleasure to invite Ms. Sang-Hee Kim, member of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, for a congratulatory speech. Please welcome her with a big hand.
네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 국회의원 김상희입니다.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kim Sang-Hee, member of the National Assembly. First of all, congratulations on the third ASEM Forum on the Human Rights of Older Persons, Present and Future Aging in Place. I was also in the first and the second forums to say my greetings, and it feels like it was not too long ago, but I see that it is the third forum already. So thank you very much for your hard work so far. I would like to first thank Chairperson Lee of the ASEM Global Aging Center and Chairperson Doo-Hwan of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea, as well as Your Excellency Ambassador Maria Castillo Fernandez of the Delegation of EU to the ROK. Thank you very much for organizing such an important forum. Let me also thank Eun-Hee, Executive Director of the ASEM Global Aging Center, as well as all its members, for enabling today's forum. Thank you so much for your hard work. Of course, today's forum, the theme is also something that I have been keenly interested in, and that is aging in place. And I believe about a month ago, I hosted a meeting in the National Assembly about the right to die in my home. So that was the theme of the discussion that I had organized. And then also another meeting that I had organized was about inheritance or estate. So before a person passes away, then how can we make sure that there are not going to be any conflicts over my estate or inheritance with the support of the government? So I had also hosted a meeting under that theme as well. So now, what is important is for the older persons to live in place and to rely on the neighbors, to mutually rely on the neighbors and family, and also to be able to die in place or in my own home. And I believe that this is an issue that is something that the society has to think about altogether. But the reality is that many elderly persons are seeing their social networks entirely crumble. Many of them are staying in institutions without family care, dying alone, and in the worst case, they die alone in their own home. So we are seeing increased risks of such dying alone. So again, what is important is for the older persons to be able to age mentally, physically, and healthily in the community with dignity. I believe that that is something that we have to think about altogether before the Korean society becomes a super age society. In particular, in the case of Korea, as of 2022, 65 or older elderly persons living alone numbered 1.76 million, or 19.4% of all elderly households, meaning that 1 out of 5 elderly persons in Korea are living alone. The Korean society is rapidly changing, and for elderly care in our society, we can not solely rely on institutional care or family care. We must also work towards elderly independence, and we must also change the caregiving policy so that the elderly persons would be more encouraged to engage within the community and to seek their own independence. I believe that the first step is for the state and the local government to support elderly sports, culture, and medical facilities, and for the neighbors and the communities to provide a sense of belonging to elderly persons. I believe that that will be the first step toward ensuring my dignified life in old age. I do hope that at this forum today, we will be able to have a constructive discussion, and I hope that we will be able to find ways for the elderly persons who are socially isolated and lonely to become full members of our community. And also for my part, at the National Assembly, I will also do my part to come up with policies to ensure aging in place healthily with dignity. As has been mentioned several times earlier, there is the UN Convention on Elderly Persons, and we also hope that from the National Assembly, the Elderly Persons Human Rights Law would be passed as soon as possible. I would also make my efforts toward that end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your warm speech. Yes, as she pointed out, well, we're leading our daily lives at our home with our friends and family and in a local community as well. So for older persons, it's also important for their lives. And she pointed out that like to death, right of death at our home with our family members, and it's very important. And for older persons, should have the rights of death at a place they want, even even they have some problems with their family members. And the human rights and the dignity should be protected for everyone. All right, thank you very much.